Hello and welcome to another video with myself, Chris from Sorare on a Budget. Tonight, a little bit different. I am talking with ScotlandSorare, otherwise known as Russell, one of my best friends for, God, I was thinking about this today, Russell, it's about 15 years we've known each other. How frightening is that?
Been trying to forget.
Trying to forget, geez, all those years ago in Phones for You, who'd have thought that 15 years later we'd be sitting on a Zoom call talking about a football game, eh?
Absolutely.
Well, to be fair, that's what we basically did back then when we were working, because we just played Football Manager all the time. So
yeah, absolutely true.
Making money this time, so
yeah, fantastic.
Screenshot on it all on Bebo, eh?
It's kind of progressed actually from Football Manager to FIFA Ultimate Team to now this.
Totally. Eh? It's been quite a world. So I'll just quickly introduce the video. Going to have a conversation with Russell. We normally have hour-long conversations on the phone, and we kind of just thought, why not just throw it together in a video and just chat our usual nonsense, maybe refrain our language a little bit, but to be honest, I'm not too bothered about that. Talk a little bit about your journey in Sorare, Russell. I did a video on mine last night. Your future plans, but general Sorare chat. And I've also put your link on here if anybody's interested in joining Sorare. They can obviously visit your website, scotlandsorare.co.uk. And obviously, I think you're doing a little bit of a giveaway for new starters.
Yeah, just doing a wee bit of a promotion. As you know, obviously, back in April, May, when we were really kind of starting to push and ramp things up a bit, I had a bit more time in my life to make a bit more content, videos and stuff. Obviously, just with everything that's going on in life and stuff, that's dropped by the wayside. What I can do is I can still put together web articles and things like that, which is a bit more time sensitive and easier for me at the moment. Yeah. So that's where I've been concentrating whilst letting you crack on with the videos and fill the void there. So yeah, as long as the community is getting covered with a bit of assistance from all angles, I don't see how it does any harm, eh?
No, definitely. And by doing the video tonight with the two of us, at least I'm the second ugliest guy on the video now, which is pretty good rather than me just being the first.
I'm really concerned actually how you look as though you've just come back from like fucking the Bahamas or something, and I look as though I've been to like I look as though I've been to like Alaska for my holidays or something. Do you know what I mean?
I need to change the colour of the slideshows because the red reflects on my face, and I look like, honestly, I've just been sat on a beach someplace. Eh? My football stadium.
You've purposely done this. You've purposely done this.
Well, just to put a smile on your face, I did put one of your personal favourites, ScotlandSorare, up on the screen. Obviously, that's been one of your big wins in recent times. However, I was having a wee nosy at your gallery earlier on, and I was looking on it through Sorare data, and I don't think he's even close to your biggest win at the moment now in terms of money, because your under-23 keeper that you picked up seems to have doubled in value, which you look at a price of nearly $1,000 for a player or over $1,000 for a player, and you think, Christ almighty, that's a fortune, and now he's worth two and a half. It's crazy.
2.5, yeah, just priced him there. Just looking at my gallery and stuff. As you know, I keep a spreadsheet and stuff and things like that, so which I think gives a bit more of an accurate sort of an accurate overhaul of your actual gallery and your value and stuff. So as you know, it's all calculated in the fiat rather than in the ETH, because the ETH fluctuates all the time. Yeah. And 100 ETH can be worth a lot of money one day, and 100 ETH the next day can be worth bugger all. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I keep quite intensive records, as you know, being a sad sort of stato geek that you've always known me to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe I referred to you as stato on the video last night, because of all the people I know and talk football with, there isn't anybody knows more stats wise than yourself. I like to think of myself as a poor man stato when it comes to a lot of the research compared to a lot of the, where you pull obscure things out of. So I mean, obviously I know, but let the people know kind of like where does a lot of that football knowledge come from? Obviously, just football leagues and things.
Yeah, I suppose just to cut a very long story short, in the 80s, obviously I was a Panini collector. Collecting all the sticker albums and stuff. And back then, I used to memorise all the players, where they were born and their height and their weights, and just really, really sad stato stuff and things. And I just thought one day this might come in useful. I have no idea. I was obviously a kid back then. It didn't for so many years. Yeah. And then it would have been 1992, 93. I was obviously became involved in the sort of inaugural real money Scottish Fantasy Football League that you participated in for a couple of seasons ago, yep. 2-3 years ago. Obviously, that was set up in the 90s, using the English leagues and using Rothman's yearbooks, Sky Sports yearbooks and stuff, which again are just really big data-filled books.
Yeah.
They're just full of stats. I've actually, do you know what? Amazingly, I've got one. Give me 2 seconds. It's just here.
Go for it, big man. Just whilst Russell's away grabbing that. I mean, there's like five starting goalkeepers there, which is just remarkable. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea, these things are full of data and stuff, and I'm one of these absolute. The only way I can describe it is I'm a sad bastard that reads pretty much all the pages.
Yeah, I mean,
however, it's helped me win. It's helped me win that fantasy football league a record number of times, and as I say, it's a real money one with real money auction, etc. and things.
I mean, I felt.
So
I was so far out my depth; it was crazy. When you're looking at like fourth-tier English players, and you're coming away with, oh yeah, he's played, and he plays in the wing. He had 72 minutes on Saturday and 3 crosses, and I'm like, dude, I mean, he's my player. I don't even know who he is. It's like,
yeah,
it's just one of those things. So.
Yeah, so progressed from that. Then obviously we had our periods, but you know what? And these things probably do help. There'll be hundreds of people that watch this video from your following and stuff that will have played Football Manager over the years, Championship Manager. They also play FIFA Ultimate Team and these things, and they will be familiar with names, etc., and things of players. And a player in FIFA Ultimate Team, as you know, Team of the Week is a player in Forum. So if they're a player in Forum on FIFA Ultimate Team, there's a very good chance that they're actually generally in Forum on an Opta basis in Sorare. So all these things obviously sort of brought it a bit more up to date and into the sort of present generation of where we were just sitting waiting. And then Sorare for me, I looked at this last August when all the early adopters were getting in, but I was so heavily in Football Index and I'd been playing that for 3-4 years and made a good whack, a good wedge on that just again with the statistical analysis. But I actually just put Sorare back down. Football Index at that time, which is now a bit of a swear word for many people who lost money. I was very lucky. I lost just a few £100. I got all my money out very luckily. But at that time they were running a promotion based on goals and assists, where you were getting 5 times the dividends, it was basically like printing money for guys, and that's back last September, October, November, I think it was. So I looked at Sorare and I put it back down. I didn't understand NFTs. I certainly wasn't really interested in crypto either, and that put me off back then. Basically put it down, and then I looked at it again in December, and I actually still got my email from Nicholas, the welcoming one. And it's the 23rd of December. I don't know why the hell we'd been looking at it 2 days before Christmas, but obviously I was trying to get out of wrapping presents or something, some shit like that.
Troubles and just be like, I'm done with this Christmas nonsense. Just leave me be.
Yeah, do you know what? Obviously wrapping presents and Michael Bublé on in the background, and I'm sitting, what's this football thing? Yeah. So, December was the date that I actually joined, and I didn't actually play the game until, I think it was the last week in January. Mm-hmm. And that's when I actually sat down and looked at the team that had been drafted again, and didn't have any basis of what I was doing back then. Very quickly worked out that I didn't have a playing goalkeeper, and a playing goalkeeper was one of the fundamentals. So had the worst possible. I think today, even on Twitter and things, I think I've put my 3 keepers that I got, and I don't think anybody's been able to beat getting a worse sort of selection of goalies. So I was playing with 4 men from the offset, which was pretty challenging. Like yourself, put a couple of £100 in, 225, I think it was to be exact. And the main target was to try and turn that 225 into £2,000. I roughly got to the 1,000 point when I started talking to you about it, and you came on board, and you were, like you say, and you've mentioned on a few of your videos how you you humoured me. Yeah. Fair enough. Most people that I spoke to did. Even the guys that were hardcore fantasy football, players from 92, 93, we're talking 20 years, these guys have all been playing football, and some of them do have a bit of knowledge, and they all kind of humoured it as well. And then I started to realise that the cards were sellable, tradable, and these were even guys that some players that I wasn't even, they were obscure. I think the first 2 or 3 of my first signings, I remember signing this player called, his name's Junior Dutra, And I'll be honest, I had never heard of him at all. And I managed to flip him for like a small amount of profit. And I thought, well, if I can flip these guys that I don't know for profit, what about all the players that I do know? So, yeah, basically just from there, kind of accelerated things on. As you know, I have invested a total of £2,250 now in total. But I've got quite an extensive gallery now. I've got a spreadsheet that I'm happy to show people, which has got every transaction I've ever done in the game. The roster valuation there, a lot of the players I've bought reflected in that. I've bought on an absolute bargain or really, really cheap. So it's probably really, really light in comparison to what the spreadsheet would be on, selling them right now.
Yeah.
It's
just in terms of that number. I mean, just for any newcomers or anything like that. That's a figure based on recent sales, lowest market prices, sometimes a mixture of both. And to be honest, it's a benchmark. But I mean, if I went to lowest market price all my players just now, mine's is sitting, I think, at 1.31, and I've got like about 0.19. We always say 19 because we're not actually going to be talking about getting actual 19
because we're not rich.
But we're not that rich. But there's no way that I mean, that's a low end in terms of people like to use it as a pricing mechanism, but I it's great, but it's not the be all end all. And I think looking at
in that figure, for example, it's got guys like like Kamar Roof that I picked up for like 80 ETH.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? You can sell Kamar Roof for 1.5 times, maybe slightly more than that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of blue cards I've managed to pick up in the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. The early hours where there is, as we both know, there is a change in the market because there's a change in the buyers. And there's a change of the people that are looking at that time and bidding against you if you're in the auctions. Sure. But yeah, there's even some of the blue cards that I've picked up for like 50, 60 ETH that I wouldn't let go of them for less than like say 199. So yeah. It's a guide and it's a fair guide, but that's all it is. Yeah,
I just don't think it's got as much. Everybody uses it. You see the guys that I'll buy your gallery for. I think the last one I seen was 65%. I was like, come on, man, just stop ripping people off. But yeah, no, they try to use this as a guide, and I think if you're selling it at 65%, you're probably really selling it about half price.
Totally.
So I mean, one of the things that you mentioned here, obviously, about me kind of feeling like I humoured you with when I signed up, and I did, because one of the things that you kept saying to me was, I mean, we're pretty competitive with FIFA in terms of not so much playing against each other. We won a little bit, but we kind of didn't play against each other much. But what we did do was we tracked those leaderboards for transfer profit to see who was going to be top in the transfer profit. And one of the things you said to me is like, if you can flip, 5 million worth of coins over the course of a couple of months, think what you could do for real money. And it sat there in my head, and I was kind of thinking that I had put, what was it, a couple £100 into Football Index, and then right when the pandemic started, I quick sold everything and took out what was £300 back down to, I think it was 197. I think I lost £2. But I just panicked and I was like, no, I can't do this. I need to get out. But to the point there, once I seen it, and obviously it was kind of relentless chat from you, you're pretty excited about it the same way, we both are now. And it was something that I then looked at, and as you know, obviously Christian Louise got involved with it, and it all went from there. Just in terms of what sort of strategy are you working now? I mean, obviously at the beginning we were both similar in terms of picking up and trying to flip the price. Where do you feel you're at now?
So when I started, I picked what can only be described, as I say, I was drafted actually some decent common cards, but without a keeper. So I was drafted guys that were actually in reasonable form at the very start. Carlos Soler was a common card that I had, which was good, and I had Borja Mayoral. I think I had Mario Fernandez. These guys were all pretty decent scorers and things, but obviously only being able to use one. You very quickly at the start realise that it's ideally the keeper you need. So I utilised pretty much most of my budget on Danny Vukovic, who lost his place the week after I signed him to Martin van der Voort. You couldn't make it up. And he honestly lost, like, I don't know, 70% of his value. I was, back then, unaware of Pavel Trader. So I wasn't even quick enough to act, etc., on basically shipping him out. Incidentally, Danny Vukovic, as you know, I've sold 3 times now, and the last time I picked him up for a mighty 3 ETH back in May, which was like £9, and then sold him when he got the move to NEC for, I think it was 150 ETH. So I've had a lot of wins like that. But yeah, the strategy back then was obviously, I wanted to get a gallery of players I wanted, players I liked. So these were players, again, and I hate to mention it, but these were players that had served me well in Football Index, that had made me money. As you know, I'm in this and going all guns blazing, because I am buying another house in March, and I really intend to publicly and visibly show people that it is possible to basically to make somewhere in the region of £30,000, which is, I'm definitely on track to do that by next February, March, from a standing start of a couple of grand. So if I can do it, anybody else can do it in my eyes. It just takes time and effort. Strategy-wise, obviously went and wanted to build up a gallery, so I wanted options. I think if I, off the top of my head, my first 5 rares were Danny Vukovic. I had this Junior Dutra guy that was playing over in the Far East somewhere. Again, he even moved. I think he moved to Brazil, which wasn't a covered league. I had Finn Stockers, who was like a sub-striker. And then I had a couple of American. I think I had Graham Zusi was one of my first Americans sort of players, and the MLS was just on the verge of coming back. So yeah, for the first 4 or 5 game weeks, I had no idea about the prizes, wasn't running anywhere near it, and was basically just starting to flip players. I realised that I could flip players pretty quick, and I got a big win off a Japanese player called Ishii. I can't remember his first name now, but I bought him for about £15 and I sold him for 150 off the back of one good game. Kind of like what you done with Spreadsheet. Basically just in and out. And that basically got me the budget to buy another keeper. So I bought another keeper, and I bought Luke Coop Miners. And
I know where this is
he
going.
lost his shirt the week after. Unreal, unbelievable. I was like, there's no way we can describe it, and I apologise now, but I was like, are you fucking joking me? God almighty, I've signed 2 keepers and they've both lost their shirt. And the worst of it was that, you know, he was indecent enough for him. He was playing okay and stuff, and they just basically just halfway through the season, right, he's out. We'll just give this guy a run now. Incidentally, they got relegated, so serves them right.
Absolutely justice. Justice.
So yeah, basically that was the next move was, again, restart and building up. As you know, 5-6 weeks in, I managed to get the gallery to about £1,000, and this is all I've documented every transfer on my Instagram. So my Instagram, the only content that goes on there on the ScotlandSorare Instagram is just basically every single player transfer that I've ever made. It shows you the price I paid, the rolling sort of accumulated profit or loss, and you know, because not every player's a win. And that was my full strategy, realistically, up until June and July. And you know, we had conversations where you're going, you know, shelf half your gallery, and you know, loads of guys were like, shelf half your gallery and start trying to win cards and things. But I wanted to build this big gallery where I hopefully in the future was able to compete in maybe 3 or 4 leagues. It has worked for me. It's worked for me really quite well. I've maybe been a little bit fortunate, etc. You know, the Vukovic deals I got 2 or 3 of those. There were another 4 or 5, the keepers, Bilal Bayazet, Etienne Vassin, all these guys. I picked them up as number 2s for like 10, 15, 20 ETH. I've sold them all, and they're all documented on record for 150, 200 ETH each. So, yeah, I made a lot of big and quick wins. Calculated risk, I suppose. I wasn't going in blind. I'd done my research, etc. I thought that out of all the number 2s that I was looking at on the bench every week, you know, there are some number 2s that there are keepers that have just been ever present for like 2-3 seasons, and they've just not seen any game time. You know, it's like the foreign Stuart Taylors of this world. You know, they just never get a game. But I'd noticed some keepers that occasionally do get in, and then when they sometimes get in, they get a run. So yeah, done that, and really in sort of June, July, I think when we were discussing just some content and marketing and sort of ideas around what we were kind of going to try and push on. I suppose just without standing on each other's toes, but more to complement each other, and also without standing on some of the other content guys that are doing stuff out there. Just some of our ideas, which hopefully, you know, we can throw out and put into fruition. I also decided to change tack. And at that point, I was content enough that I had enough players, that I always had players that were selling. And, you know, if we'll have a look later on or whatever, just, you know, I can give a quick overview. I'm happy to open up my account and share my screen, etc., and show a little bit. But yeah, basically when I've got a wee bit of a battery issue here. 2 seconds. Basically when I started to get a big gallery, I thought, right, okay, now I can push the quality. And over the last 6-7 weeks, some of the quality, I'm really, really happy with. And I think last week was my most successful, finishing 11th in Champ America, which was pretty good. Obviously, it fluctuated, you know, but yeah, finishing 11th was pretty awesome.
Awesome.
And that's been my best result today.
Yeah, and it'll come. I mean, I think that's what, I mean, we did speak. And you need to get your charger, or you're right?
I'm just going to plug it in. It's just here.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll let you do it. I mean, yeah, we did chat quite extensively, you know, and I kept saying you've got so much invested in your gallery now in terms of, you were probably about 5 figures, you know, at that point. And I was saying, you know, is it worth, you know, instead of spreading yourself so thin across 5 or 6 leagues, focus on 2, focus on 3. But don't, you know, at that point, you know, bringing it in, and I think you did that because that's when you had your Carlos Solar, and you could focus on trying to push in, as you know, and I think, you know, finishing 11th is justification for, you know, for the way you've changed it. And yeah, I mean, I think whilst you had your best weeks finishing 11th, I think that was my worst ever finish where I've had 5 players playing in America. I think I was 900th or 896 or something. And Anton Walks, I went to sleep at half time in that game and he was on 48, looking pretty good. Atlanta with a clean sheet, and I'm thinking, oh, that could be clean sheet bonuses for 3 players and blah, blah, blah. And I wake up, he's giving away a penalty. He's had a fucking nightmare of a second half. And he went to sleep. He's got a score of 9. I mean, 9. I mean, as well with a DNP. I'd rather a DNP than slapped in the face with a 9, to be perfectly honest. But
is that his manager, Martin Ziegler? Ziegler. Marvin Ziegler, sorry.
Yeah, when he rocked up with a 2 or something like that in the last game of the season. Yeah, so no, it's funny because we've always said that in terms of not just with Sorare, when we were playing FIFA or something even like that, if you were winning, I was losing. If I was winning, you were losing. And it was just, it seemed to be a circle like that. Maybe we should have just pulled the funds and just went gung-ho together. I think it's quite interesting for folk to hear, especially where you've had such, you know, catastrophic luck to begin with, you know, and you didn't give up on it. That could have been a lot for people where, you know, goalkeepers losing their shirt right away. I mean, man, that's, you know, especially back then when the averages were changing on, you know, instantly. So if you've seen a player all of a sudden DMP on a game, or you've seen that somebody else was starting, I mean, we've both made money off a backup goalkeepers just getting a start, and it was a one-off start and selling the player for, you know, 0.1 or whatever, and we've picked them up for, you know, for pennies, you know, 10, 15 quid. Yeah. So it's a story of kind of perseverance as well, because I mean, now, as you can see on the screen here, we're sitting with 73 rares and 3 super rares. I inadvertently bought a super rare the other night with the RG guy. I was actually looking at his rare card, and I was sitting there and I was like, there was just one sitting at like 60, and I thought, do you know what? I'll stick 40 on it. And then I went away through the kitchen to go and get a drink, and I came back and I thought, what have I done? That's just stupid. So I went to cancel it, and the boy had accepted it. So I sold it for exactly what I bought it for. Just put it up on Twitter.
I've seen that, actually.
Anybody wants,
I can imagine you nervy on the button.
I do it all the time, so many times as you put a bid on a player, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? I was like, is this what a waste of money here? So I cancel it, and then I'm like, just as well. I mean, tonight, if I flick over to mine just very quickly, I've actually picked up a few signings today. I'll just let you see who I picked up. So obviously these are the 2 boys that I got yesterday. Hirovsky I got in that trade for Bedoya. I think that was quite a good one. I think he's got a much higher ceiling than Bedoya, if we're looking at it that way. Varela, right back from Dinamo. And
plays alongside Ordets, who's in my team.
Yeah, you're super big win. I had a look at that earlier on. What is he, over 300 quid now?
Ordets was actually a prize for me, and it was one. It's probably arguably the best prize. I think Ordets right now. Ordets would be the captain of that club if it was the fact that he wasn't Ukrainian. It's because he's obviously in the Russian team, but he's Ukrainian. But he would be the captain of that team. He's by far certainly the best along the sort of back lines. The Russian teams have either always got a goalkeeper or a centre back as their captains. There's so many, like Akinfeev's the captain. There's a few that the Russian clubs have got their goalies as captains and things. Varela, obviously, he's playing. I think he's playing right back at the moment, whereas Ordets is in the centre.
Yeah,
they're doing well. The Russians is where I'm having lots of successes, and I know that their league, the downside for MD that's not aware is that their league splits, and it ends probably about the third week in December and doesn't come back till March, which is a long time. But yeah, up until December's a long time from now. That's what 16 game weeks away yet.
I think that's what we've spoken about that. I think the longest player I've got in my gallery is from barely 2 months ago. Because everything's on a constant rotation. I mean, I said it in last night's video, all my cards are for sale. Even when I buy cards, I quite often will just list them because I'm like, you know what? If somebody comes along and pays more than what I've paid for them, magic. I'm up. Which is exactly what happened with Marcus Suttner. Somebody paid 45 for him last night, and I bought him back today for 30. So I was happy with that. He's also a full-back. I think it's the left back for Austria Vienna.
Austria Vienna.
And captain, everything, played every game, assists galore. And then I saw this lad earlier on when I did a couple of searches. Orat Manguen. Never heard of the boy before from Go Ahead Eagles.
His name's Ragnar. He's a good Viking. That's a good Viking.
He's sitting on a 45 average and he's only 23 as a forward. He's got a couple of low scores to drop off. So if he has a couple of decent games, his average goes up, and as we both know, his price goes up at the same time.
He goes away, yeah.
Adios.
You've got Mark van der Marel there.
Van der Marel. He's gone. He's gone already.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, I bought him for 32 and he sold for 40 last night.
Utrecht are playing well just now, and obviously, as you know, I've bought and sold big Django Warmerdam, who plays left back for them 3 or 4 times. I actually sold him again yesterday. Yeah, so I'm Django-less.
Yeah, I mean, this is the other thing as well. It acts as if my roster price has gone down 5%, which makes you look like an idiot. But I'm sat where. Yeah, I've got my 2 starting goalkeepers, but now after the escapades of the last week or so where I've been trading in and out of players and bringing the value of the gallery up, I'm now, if I click on that one, I think it's hidden by the screen share here. So there we go. If I just bring it up, I set up squads earlier on, and I think I'm sat with 13 Challenger cards now, which and 8 Champion America ones. So a few days I'm planning on holding on to, but now I'm kind of like, right, do I put out a global team with a common goalkeeper and go with the Challenger team and the Champ America team whilst I've still got them? So I actually run 3 teams, but it's a risk, I think, to put in a common goalkeeper sometimes. But it's, if I've got the outfield,
we've always said, global. It's while the ETH threshold is there, you've got to take advantage of it. You don't want really to risk it. If you win a card, great. I obviously at the moment I'm playing 4 of the Division 4s. I can't play Champion Europe even with a arguably £25,000, £22,000 gallery. I can't play Champion Europe without a keeper. And there's not a keeper that actually takes my fancy at the moment. There's a couple of good performing keepers, but they're 37 plus, and that's just a bit too old for me, as you know. Yeah. I said to you obviously beforehand that it would be good to see in Europe, because you were very well. You went from Asia heavy to America's heavy. You've now switched, and you're actually now, by looking at things, you've got more European cards than America's, and obviously, which is that's good and fair enough, because America's is the playoffs and things will be done and dusted before Christmas. So,
yeah. And I wanted to get a bit of variety with the challengers as well, because obviously, as you know, I kind of went quite heavy on the Austrians because the value was there, and I mean they've got some scores. The only problem what I've noticed with the Austrians is, I honestly think the Opta guys that do the Austrian league are absolutely hammered by 4 o'clock to go and watch the matches, because the variance in the scores, I have seen nothing like it. I've seen guys go from like big Jan Zwischenbrugger. There was one of the games he was sitting on like 83 at the end of the game. And I think by the end of all their adjustments, there was about 7 or 8 times he swung down and back up and down and back up. He finished on 71. And I was going in and checking, and I couldn't see what was going on. I mean, I think it was the difference of like an interception or a tackle that brought him down from being like triple to double or whatever else. And it was just bonkers. So honestly, and it's every single player, every single week. So if you buy in Austrian players, just don't check your team until the last minute, because the adjustments are brutal. But yeah, I wanted to get a bit of variance, so that's why I've got a couple of the Russian lads there. I've got some Belgian-based players. I've got some as I said, Russians, and we have a couple of Dutch boys now as well. So Big Tedic, as we spoke about the other day. So, but like I've always said, everything's always for sale, and I think that's how we've both rolled. Everything's got its price. We're kind of like the $1 million man in that fashion.
Absolutely.
Everything's got its price.
Bagsy not being Virgil today.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to make a joke there, but I mean, the colour of the screen that I keep projecting on, I mean, I could be getting a hell of a tan here, but it's not. It's not quite that. It's just, I don't know why. I mean, the wall behind me is green, so there's no reason for it to reflect as much red as it does. I don't understand, but anyhow.
I know I should have like a blue or a radiant background, or even just like an image like what you've got. I probably should have done that rather than looking like fucking Casper. It is October. To be fair, it is October.
It is October. So, I'm usually see-through by this point of the year,
but Casper the Ghost, fine.
Having moved house and having the garden this year, I have sat out quite a bit and everything, So, but I'm still fairly white. But yeah, no, I think that's quite, we've both talked extensively about our journeys and kind of where we're at the moment. What do you make of the just a bit of news for this week in terms of the Germans coming in? I mean, I've obviously a couple of years ago when I was in Berlin and went to Olympiastadion, had the tour and kind of kept a close look on the German football. And obviously it was the first European league that came back after the pandemic. So it was literally the only football on TV. So I was watching loads of the games. I followed a few of the websites. There's a website called Bully News, and it has, up-to-date information on it. So I've kept quite up to date with the German leagues, particularly kind of like Hertha Berlin. Has there been anything that you've looked at as of yet, or are you just saving your gallery funds for
as part of my research, obviously I've got a lot of stuff on Excel spreadsheets, as you know, and things, and not just my Sorare team data, but I've got lots of different, I do the rolling sports and football charts with all the things, and just for anybody that's looking for quite a good sort of German source, you maybe sort of people that have played FIFA and things have maybe heard, and they'll certainly know the voice of Derek Ray. So Derek Ray, I've spoke to quite a lot on Twitter, and we follow each other. And Derek's from, I think it's Aberdeen he's originally from, but obviously it's a Scotsman, and he does all the Bundesliga commentary, and he works for ESPN. He tweets a lot, but I think Derek will be late 60s, so it's pretty good. It's pretty cool the fact that he's really active on Twitter, and he shares lots of, I wouldn't even say sort of like it's never overhyped stuff. It's actually just genuinely down to earth, useful information that he shares. There's no agenda with Derek, and obviously he's the commentator on FIFA Ultimate Team. If you play that, he's one of them, along with, is it Stuart Robson this year, I think.
Oh, do you know what? I don't listen to the commentary. I've got the commentary switched off. Yeah, my dog's just decided he's going to wander in. But he's gone around the back of the laptop, so we're all good.
All right.
He's going around the other side now. Where are you going?
Shadow causing shadows.
Yeah, you come and say hello. Come here. I don't even know because he's colour, I don't even know if he's going to show. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh, yes, there he is.
Partially licking my face. It looks like some sort of ghost thing appearing on the screen. It's made me go really white there. Maybe I should have had him sit.
He's licked off your foot. He's licked off your face.
Oh, my face trying to come off on my video.
Yeah, so anyway, sorry. I'm talking about the Bundesliga. So Derek puts quite a lot of useful things. He's worth a follow on Twitter for anybody that's wanting to get a wee bit of knowledge on the Bundesliga. Yeah. My knowledge probably comes, again, from Football Index. I was a holder of quite a lot of the under 23s. So these were guys, you're talking maybe 18 months ago, but this is guys like Dennis Zakaria, which obviously broke through into the Swiss national team and things, totally box to box, great midfielder, probably will end up Premiership bound. But I keep very sadly, I keep a little book. And in my little book is, you'll not be able to see this, but probably not see it, but I keep every single goal scorer Now, I know that you can get that information online, but I'm not always available to be online and stuff. So one of the things that I do that's slightly different to the information that you do online, which I find really helpful, is I mark captains of clubs because captains play.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you look down my my list, I've got lots of captains, Bruno Martins Indy, for example, of clubs, because I know they're going to play, and that obviously helps with DNPs, less
Absolutely,
of them.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that's pretty important for me is penalty taking midfielders and defenders, and that kind of stems all the way back to my fantasy football league days, where that you get the extra points. So, just for there's been 3 or 4 clubs, as we know, that have been in the game. Bayern, Leverkusen, etc. Schalke were obviously in it as well. There's been a few players that have been around in Sorare, and guys have got the stacks and champion Europe to totally rip it up every week. And guys like us coming along trying to then outdo these guys or outsmart these guys. Yeah, you can do it every now and then, but on the main, if you've got Bayern stack, Bayern are winning most games. Do you know what I mean? So one of the things that interests me on the Bundesliga, it's not those players. So like you, I'll not be shopping in those supermarkets,
Totally.
But there are some clubs that have got a few sort of standout players that if you're German and watching this, you'll probably know this if you're a Bundesliga. But you've got guys, for instance, just a few examples, just sharing the knowledge just for anybody that is listening. But you've got Niederlechner at Augsburg, who's got a couple of goals. Obviously, you've got your obvious main ones at Bayern Munich, Dortmund. Those guys are going to go for hundreds and hundreds of ETH. But you've got Zakaria is the obvious one at Mönchengladbach. Again, he's going to be an absolute fortune. But what people probably won't pick up on is Lars Stindl. Now, Lars Stindl was one of my main football index holds. He's a good opta performer, which is the same strategy which was used within that platform. He's the penalty taker, he's the captain, he's the free kick taker. So please don't beat me to get in the first Lars Stindl, because Lars Stindl, even at the age of 33, I will find a place for him in my gallery. But, he's got a couple of goals this season. There's Anthony Modeste, which incidentally I put Anthony Modeste on my Instagram yesterday. He was just the latest transfer. It's up to about June, or I think it is in the timeline. I'm trying to catch up because I want to do a real-time challenge where we're doing some stuff and trying to make some people some money. But Modeste has went obviously from being a 15-game DNPer out on loan to not getting a game, falling out with the manager. Then he was going to come back to Cologne, and then it was like, no, I'm definitely leaving. I'm going back out on loan, or I'm going to not sign a contract. And now he's back. He's like the top scorer. He scored 4 goals, and I sold him for £35, making a profit. Yeah. And now you can. I think you have to pay like 250 quid for him. So there's a couple of guys there. Swat Serdar at Hertha, which was your football manager team.
Absolutely.
So he's obviously quite a good midfielder that scores goals. Brun Larsen at Hoffenheim. I'm not sure if he'll be. I'm expecting he'd maybe be about 250, 300 ETH, I would think, on the market. But he is their top scorer, and he's not a striker as such. That's another good one. There's one of my personal favourites is Niakate at Mainz, who'll come in as a defender. He'll probably go under the radar. Goal scoring sort of centre back. Not heavy. He's not like an 8-9 a season guy, but 4-5, and he's a pretty consistent player. And avoiding again teams like Leipzig and stuff, because we all know the sort of the main guys there. But there's Zoller at Bochum, who's quite good. Kempf, I think he's Finnish guy at Stuttgart. He's got 3 or 4 goals. And Big Wout Weghorst, who a lot of people know him, certainly the Dutch guys that play the game and stuff. He's at Wolfsburg. So, do you know what? For me, the introduction of the Bundesliga, I may look at 1 or 2 for my global team, but I'll not be building a champion team around it. I'm going to stick with the 4 leagues I'm contesting at the moment.
I think the good thing with the fact that that's the full La Liga in there now, and obviously the full Bundesliga, now it opens up a lot more players to champion Europe. There are a few cheaper players that you could pick up in like Spain, for example, just now. But I've not bothered to even look at building a team for the same reasons, because of the the various stacks with with Bayern Munich. And hey, I'm not against stacks. Most of my teams are stacks, and they're just not on that scale.
Not on the champion scale. No.
But it's and hey, more power to the people that have got them. You've paid your money, you've bought your ticket, so you
those were the teams that came out when it first came out. The early adopters didn't have much choice. It was right, you're buying players from Nantes or Munich or Leverkusen or Liverpool, and I think West Ham were one of the ones as well.
West Ham, because I've tried a few times to get Snodgrass, but it's not been successful. But no, I think it opens up a lot more in terms of being able to challenge for cards. I would say maybe on a lighter scale. It's not as cheap as, I mean, we both know that the MLS and the K and J leagues are some of the cheapest ones to play. Especially, even with goalkeepers. I mean, as you've seen on the screen, I mean, Guzan's list. I mean, actually, I just seen that Pavel's got a Guzan today. So if anybody's needing a goalkeeper, you might want to go and have a nosy, see if you can pump a trade his way. I mean, he's captain, as you just said. It's another captain, another year's worth of play. Just pick up his backup, and you'll be laughing. But yeah, I think if somebody's new into the game, you could still buy in and play J League for another 7 game weeks, I think they've got left. MLS, you've still got, if you pick up players from the playoff bound teams, you've got weeks left of game time. And 6-7 weeks on Sorare is a hell of a long time, because you can then trade those players back out and win your ETH, win some prizes, reinvest back into players, start moving over to Europe and finding the right players there. I mean, that's my strategy. And that's why, as you've seen, I've now got more European players than I do Americans. I think we've chatted for like forever, Do you want to I know obviously you were thinking about launching your for any new sign-ups.
I've got a couple of things. I can share my screen. I'm happy to share my screen. I'll show just a couple of guys
not sure how
just the way I do business.
How do I do that?
Let's see. I'll see if it'll maybe let me share mine. If I'll click share, and it'll maybe ask for permission. We'll give it a try. Give it 2 seconds.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Nice. Yeah, no, there's
no chance. Your options.
There's no chance I'm going to know where to find that. Have you put it up on the site yet? No.
There is a bit on the site. It's just an offer of just giving people extra cards just for signing up. I think I got 18 limited, and they're not for me. I don't play limited at all. I don't play Division 5 at the moment. It's I'm trying to push up the way, but I understand why. So basically just trying to give some cards away, give people just a bit of a start. It can be really daunting and can actually be quite hard and deflating if you play for 3-4 weeks after having this excitement of building a team, and you build a team and then all of a sudden you're winning nothing and you're not even getting, say, common rewards or whatever, for not even finishing in the top, I think, was it 50% or something?
They're extended, so everybody's getting a prize now, at least in that. But if you're not in the top 50, you're literally getting the dregs of society, pretty much.
Yeah, so there's basically just trying to give people just some extra cards. I have no use for them. Some of them have got a varying value. Some of them aren't worth an awful lot, but they're all publicly in display in a gallery. So it's not as if I've been pretty upfront about it and said, look, this is what you can get. You will get one. You'll obviously get one from Sorare. You'll get one from me, and then you get an under 23 limited card. So technically, you're getting 3 cards. You're also getting 3 in 10 chance. So basically, every 10 players that do join at the moment. As I say, I'm only going to run this promotion just for October, just to help people, but you'll get a 3 in 10 chance at winning a rare. So 3 out of 10 of you have to win it. It'll be done live, transparently, etc. as well. So yeah, that's quite good. And then obviously just purely just for fun, as you know, obviously you do your kits, and I've done some banners for some people and things, so people can then get a kit or a banner if they want to put it on their Facebook or their Twitter or their Twitter custom profile, anything like that. And then the idea is that obviously, as you know, anyone that kind of comes in via us, we've got some plans for we've got some sort of Well, I suppose it's okay to share it, but we've got some sort of like podcast plans. We've got some sort of maybe Patreon plans, etc., just based on like real money transfer generation, which certainly there's 2 or 3 of us in our group that have been doing that, etc. So yeah, we've got some good stuff going on. I did have something to show you on. Got a couple of things actually. I don't know if did you find the share screen?
No,
thing?
I can see where it tells me I'm sharing my screen.
There's let me see. Let me 2 seconds. I think this might do it. Hold on. Yeah, there should be a.
Hold on. Multi participants can share.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
I'll give you a whirl. See.
Okay, let's have a look. I'll see. Okay, so yeah, if I just share my screen, I'll share this. Okay, so fingers crossed you can now see my stuff.
No, I can still just see mine. Under. We worried.
Well, I think you've got to stop screen sharing.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, can you see my stuff now?
Yeah, I've got you now.
Yeah, so again, just for anybody, just the idea that the website, as I say, I don't have time for the videos and things at the moment, so I might return to it at a later date. But right now, the idea, the way that I can contribute is I do obviously the blog posts. Yep. Which, well, there's been a few people have also contributed. You've contributed to a couple as well, Chris. So I do the blog posts, which is all different subjects, basically. Some of it's about Scottish football, obviously, because the name's ScotlandSorare, but there's lots of things about goalkeepers, about Europeans, young Europeans, MLS, blah, blah, blah. And that's something that I can usually churn out pretty quickly. Yeah. I also do the rolling bar charts, which are actually based on Opta scoring from last season for Sorare. So yeah, it is a wee bit historical data, but there's also a good chance that, players that have left the club. So the Barcelona example is pretty good because there's like 3 or 4 of the top performing players have all left. But the players that are left that were in that top 11, there's still some really good ones there that are actually underpriced. So one of the surprise packages for me, and I honestly wouldn't have put them in the top 11 players at their club based on performance, and that's over a season. We sometimes buy and flip players, but if you're buying somebody long term for your team, you want them to be getting as many points as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
No point in getting 90 points one week, DNP 90, DNP. That's no use because you're probably going to lose out. So consistent, obviously, scoring is pretty important, and Mingueza at Barcelona, the midfielder, was one of the ones that comes out. So these can be viewed on the YouTube as well. And that's just the kind of information that I've been doing. I'll show you this. You might not want to see this. Our little private league on the Bragg. So we shout out to Bragg. You know what? I think when it first came out, I think we sort of mucked about with it and stuff. And I think I was in 2 or 3 little leagues and stuff. But obviously we've got our own little private Facebook group that shares information and stuff and things, and we've got some of these managers are all in it. But this week, I do believe that it's
it's me against you, man. I don't even have any players. It's not even fair.
Well, you can use your budget this week. And I
can check my common cards though, can't I? You said it so we could use common cards, didn't you?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just had
I got beat by some common cards, or somebody had common cards the other week there. Fine. That's fine. I'll get my Handanoviches of the world and everything back.
Do you know what? So I think
I lost it. Go and click on the scores there. You'll see big Anton Walks is fucking 9.
Yeah. So there's obviously that. My gallery itself, as you know, it's kind of been growing quite extensively, and a couple of things I've done. So if I just look at the cards, as you know, I sold Carlos Solar, which is probably he's my second favourite player in the whole game, and I bought him for £137.
Yeah,
which is absolutely phenomenal. I sold him for £1,370. I think I posted a wee picture on my Twitter. The only reason I kind of posted that was because it was so astronomical big. I normally wouldn't kind of try and share that data, but basically Carlos Solar was massive for me. So what it allowed me to do the week that I sold Carlos Solar was able to really improve. So my immediate thing was I needed an actual high scoring midfielder, and Remy Cabella checked in for, as you can see, £344. Now, if you want to buy him on the market now, he's already like 500 quid. Remy just now is, you can see the scores there. He's absolutely on fire. He plays as a, although he's classed as a midfielder, he's actually playing almost like a support striker. Certainly an advanced cam, if you were talking, sort of like Football Manager tactics and things. But Remy Cabella he's scoring every other week. He's on everything. He's come out of what I would class as, I wouldn't probably buy him now at the price he is at the moment, but Cabella was the immediate. I also then went and bought Jesus Ferreira, who a good friend of ours, Lewis Spector, on the game, who's also from Dundee, and I've obviously known since the early 90s. He alerted me to him. I was kind of aware of him, but I wasn't aware how well he was playing, if I'm being honest. And he's had a couple of slightly lower weeks, but he's obviously really influential for my under-23s. Yeah. I upgraded my Bruno from last year. Just think my percentage wasn't particularly high. I'd missed a lot of the training teams and things. And I got a couple of really young, really promising. This guy's really good, so probably quite affordable for anybody that's looking. I think Pavel had a couple around about 25-30 last time I looked. But he's playing every week, and he's getting some pretty decent scores.
Just on that one there, if you just scroll back down again, Russ, this is the kind of thing I've been looking out for when I've been doing my searches. That 30 against Montreal, that's going to drop off with his next game. Now, that 48 average, for every 5 points over 30 he scores, that goes up by 1 point. So if he scores 40 points in his next game, all of a sudden you've got a 50 average on him. And that's when people will start picking him up on searches, and that's when the prices will start to go up. I mean, under 23s with 50 plus, the prices are jumping up big time, eh?
Yeah,
I think the prices are going to jump up further, eh?
I got my favourite player. So my favourite player in the whole game, and this is because he was my favourite player in the index, is João Pedro. And João Pedro's the absolute talisman at his club. He's just involved in everything. Now, if you go and look on either Transfer Market or say BBC Sport to look at the scorers, it comes up as his full Brazilian name with the DOS in the middle and everything like that, etc. So you've got the full name, so don't be mistaken thinking João Pedro does nothing. João Pedro scores every time these guys score, and he assists when when he doesn't score, which isn't very often, he assists. He's a really, really good player. Had a slight dip, but with that, he had quite a tricky game away against Napoli. But he's generally a really good player. I've been after him. I'll be honest, I've been after him for months, and I eventually managed to pick him up for about 150 ETH off a very kind trader. And then even still this is still off the solar money. I picked up Fernandez, who you can see. So again, this is one that for your people that like trying to get a bargain. He's gone up in price a little bit. He does have a 94 to drop off. So vice versa of what you just said, that 94 will drop off. His price might actually dip by about 10-15 ETH next week. If he doesn't score, obviously, something around that this coming game week. But he's an under 23. Lots of, what I've been looking at quite extensively was obviously the keeper. So I bought Safanov off of a combination of the solar money, and I sold Shamar Nicholson and Conan Jocelyn.
Yeah.
So there's Safanov there. Now, Safanov I paid 550 ETH for, which at the time was 1,200.
Yeah.
And I think he's listed about 2,500 at the moment. However, if you're playing under 23s, one of the big things is that when the birthday, and I checked this with both Sorare and it was actually Quinny as well. Quinny was really helpful. Mm-hmm. So the big thing obviously on under 23s is the playing keepers are astronomical, but there's so few of them.
Yeah, there is.
So for next season, there are only, and I've got them written down here. Thankfully, obviously, I've got Safanov, but there's Safanov, Etienne Green at St Etienne, who he's only missed the last couple of games because he got sent off.
Yeah.
But there's Etienne Green, There's the guy Maximiano that's on loan from Sporting at Granada that qualifies. That's currently a first-team keeper, but if he doesn't go back out on loan or whatever, he might not be next season. There's Fayula at FC Sion, the new Swiss team.
Yep.
And Okoye at Sparta. And the last one, I think the boy Deitch at RFC Sorare, I think you came across him as well.
Yeah.
He actually loses his eligibility from next summer, but those ones that I pre-mentioned are the only playing 23 keepers in the game, which is pretty scary because there doesn't seem to be, I don't know if...
I think the only other one I can think off the top of my head, and I don't know that you'll keep the shirt next season, is Slonina.
I should have said that was Europeans. There's Slonina.
Sorry, yeah.
Slonina, and there's Go Hitano and a couple other guys in sort of Japanese in the MLS. Obviously, I've got Stajahar at Orlando that gets a game every now and then, but he loses his eligibility. So, that was one of the big things for me, was to get an under-23 keeper and basically build the squad. I think, again, all those yellows, they're all to go. To be perfectly honest with you, they're going to be given away for free. But I've tried to build, just over the last sort of month or so, you can see here, I've kind of tried to get some really good American or MLS sort of related youth in. This guy Perez is an absolute beast at the back. So he was another sort of key signing. He just scored a 93 at the weekend. So he's come on, done really quite well. Yeah. And just a few of the other sort of key guys are the Russian guys, and then as you know, I've always got guys. That are available for transfer. A wee sort of player there that's on the screen at the moment. That again, he fluctuates in price. So anybody that's listening, any of your sort of followers and things that are listening, Santiago Simon is going to be an absolutely phenomenal player. There's some stuff on YouTube and things about him. He really is the real deal. This guy, he's like, kind of reminds me of the sort of the Pablo Aimar sort of era, when these guys were on like FM as Wonder Kids and stuff. Simon is, he's really coming onto a game as well, just at the moment. So you can see the last four, pretty consistent. He was sitting at between 35 and 40th. If you're listening now, or you're way to listen now, on playback, go and have a look before Chris buys them all and tries to sell them to you for 60.
What do you think I'm looking down for?
And the last thing I'll show you, which I find useful, and again, it's maybe just something I'll stop sharing and then share it so that I can share the actual spreadsheet this time, because I don't think it'll share. If I share the spreadsheet, so here, fingers crossed, hopefully this is coming up on your screen?
Come up,
yeah. Oh, okay. So this is my spreadsheet that's all sort of auto-formulated based on, it calculates the trading profits. So as you can see here, I'm very open and transparent. You can find all these things on the blockchain anyway if you dig deep enough on the transaction. But basically, I measure all my players. So you can see, just as an example, I think this is a really good example, especially if you're just starting out. It's a great idea to start doing it at the start. So you've got your player name. I've got basically a little toggle that classifies whether they're currently in my portfolio, or if I go down the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players that I've sold, they've got a little X there, which shows you basically where they've gone or where they've, they're no longer in my portfolio. So again, it's just showing you basically, if they're under 23 eligible, the position, the club, when I bought them, the date of sale. So when I sell them, I put the date of sale in there and what I bought them for. And this allows me basically to always measure in fiat rather than ETH and never be stung. So if Brent Gabriel, say, just as an example, obviously he's an under 23 keeper, he's out of Vazland, who look as though they might come up actually back up to the Jupiler, but he's obviously of no utility right now at all. And I paid 49 quid for him. So if ETH, as I say, is up just now, like where it is, and basically that's 25 ETH to get the 49 quid, then so be it. But if ETH crashes, through and all of a sudden you need 49 ETH to get 49 quid, I'm always aware of that. Whereas if you're always just looking in ETH, which I know that we don't, but I know that there are newer players that aren't sure how to measure it. So this is all really kind of important. There's Carlos, bought on the 27th of April 2021. That's obviously going to be until I sell Safinoff, that's my record profit in a transaction. But yeah, it's just a good little way of doing it. I obviously keep information on all my keepers and things and stuff as well, just in various formats. They're not updated at the moment, but all the playing keepers, how many games they've played, stuff like that. So yeah, that's just a little bit of an overview, just to kind of help. So yeah, cool in the gang.
I have just clicked on something by mistake there. I will click on screen share and I'll just put mine back up. Yeah, here we go. I've just inadvertently opened the window. But nonetheless, Firefox, God, I've had this laptop a month now and all of a sudden I'm getting
dodgy sites. Dodgy sites.
I'm very well aware of the old incognito, I believe it is. I sometimes even wear a hat when I'm looking at incognito.
Always use your phone, never your laptop.
Oh, dearie me. Some of the things, I think it was when I had to do Scotty's kit and I had to Google. And I thought, right, I'm going to do it on my phone. In case I need to drop it in a vat of acid when I had to search for cartoon ball bags. But you want to see some of the stuff that comes up when you search that? Don't do that at home, kids. There's a lot of explaining to do if you do. So, yeah, just on that, thank you so much for your time, Russell. It's been a cracking chat. I think we could probably do this a lot more often. I think when I mentioned it on the Twitter earlier on, it might turn into a series. I think you obviously alluded to the fact we talked about maybe doing it as a podcast format. But obviously we'll finalise that between ourselves, but that might be something to look out for. And yeah, thanks to everybody who subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you don't follow Russell already, it's at ScotlandSorare, I believe. And obviously the website we've just talked about, scotlandsorare.co.uk. If you've got any ideas for upcoming videos next week, well, the league's being back next weekend. I will be going back to some scouting videos. If you have any ideas, feel free to drop them on my Twitter, which is at Sorare on a budget. You can obviously sign up on Russell's night and get entered into all those, for all those goodies. You can sign up at mine and just get your one free card. Your choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd visit Russell just now if you want to have a look at that for the month of October. But yeah, thanks so much for all your time. Thanks very much to everybody who's watched. If you've made it this far, man, you have to get out a little
You're
bit
hardcore.
More. Yeah, hardcore. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks very much for your time, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.